RX Television on RxMuscle.com. This is Ask Dave, better known as hashtag Ask Dave, brought to you by Species Nutrition. Visit speciesnutrition.com. I'm your host, Sadiq Faruqi. This is your weekly 30-minute question and answer show with Dave Palumbo. All your questions on diet, training, supplementation, IFBB pros, competitions, life, whatever it is on your mind, it is all on the table. As we now bring in Dave Palumbo. Dave, a big week this week on RX Television. We have right now on RxMuscle.com and the YouTube channel our interview with Gerald Williams with an impressive win this past weekend at the Cal Pro. And then tomorrow, our super secret mystery guest on Live With.
I love mystery guests because people are driving me crazy asking me who it is. And mostly the people that I'm very close with, friends, because they won't think I'm going to give them I'm going to leak it. But I'm not going to do that because I know one leaky person is going to tell everyone. So it's a good interview. I think that a lot of people will enjoy it. I enjoy doing it. So usually my interviews that I do, it's what I want, not what I think the fans want. I usually think everyone wants what I want. So I hope everyone will enjoy it. I don't think anyone will guess who it is, but they'll be happy when they find out who it is. That's for sure. And I want to just congratulate Gerald Williams. Huge win out at the Cal Pro, beating some quality competitors out there for certain. And I've known him since he won the Teen National, so we've even worked together before. So it'll be an interesting interview, and I know he's looking forward to it. We were supposed to do it yesterday, but we'll get it done today, and it'll be up later tonight. And then, of course, Johnny Jackson, also another big win at that Toronto show. So he's on a roll. He told me he was going to shut it down till the Olympia after he won that Arnold South Africa, and now he's got another win under his belt. I guess he's trying to go out with a bang, Sid.
This is going to be sort of his swan song, so another big win for him, and again, a big win for Gerald Williams this past weekend at the Cal Pro. If you want to ask a question on the show, you can join us on the Muscle Central forum on RxMuscle.com. If you're not already a member, it is free to register. If you're watching us on YouTube, you can ask your question on the chat box on the right-hand side of the video player, our official Facebook page. You can tweet using hashtag AskDave, or on our official Instagram page, official_RxMuscle. Let's go to Brad McCaff. Dave was watching Dr. Tony Huge from Enhanced Athlete, and he said one can use an insulin needle to inject 1 cc intramuscularly with testosterone or tren ACE. Is this true? And where can you pin yourself with an insulin needle?
Theoretically, you can use an insulin needle for anything. I mean, the problem is that these shots really need to be done intramuscularly, and a lot of times people have a lot of subcutaneous fat right on the surface of their skin. So if you're taking a shot, let's say, in your glute with an insulin pen, it probably won't get into the glute muscle. It'll probably get into the fat more so, or under the skin, and it's going to irritate and it's going to turn red. Now, if you're doing like an upper pec injection, that's a different story where there's no fat on your pec or your deltoid. You can probably get away with it. I had a friend who used to do his triceps. But if you do have fat on your body and you're not lean and you don't have that like paper thin skin, then I wouldn't do an insulin. I wouldn't use an insulin syringe. Plus, it's a pain in the ass. I mean, unless you like to shoot yourself 16 times. I mean, those insulin pins are only 1 cc, the biggest ones. So, if you're taking 3 cc's of a shot every other day, you're going to have to do 3 separate shots on each day. So, once again, it's whatever you like. You can do it as long as you're getting the stuff into the muscle. If you're not, you're going to get welts wherever you do it, and it's going to get irritated, and there's a chance that you could get an infection there. So you got to be careful with that. Make sure, like I said, that whatever you're injecting an insulin pen into, because it's very short, it's got to be done into a place where you have very low body fat. The other thing to consider is you're not going to be able to suck it up through the insulin pen. You're going to have to actually pull the back out of it and fill it up, and then gently move the top or the plunger back into the syringe. You can get some loss of product. It can be a pain in the ass. Not everyone likes to do it. If you're obsessed with taking shots like he is and Boston Lloyd and guys like that, I'm sure it's not a big deal for them.
Muscle_machine, can you put a pack of, I guess he wants to know your thoughts on putting a pack of Crystal Light in a gallon of water when pre-contest?
You could do that. I tried that back in the day. A lot of guys used to do it instead of drinking water in the gym. And to me, I got a lot of indigestion from Crystal Light. It's got a lot of citric acid in there as a preservative and to give it that tart taste. And it just bothered me. I was always like, it felt like it was always coming up on me. But I don't have a problem with that, especially if you dilute it down. if you're going to be drinking this stuff all day, dilute it down. Don't make it super strong, because that will definitely upset your stomach, and you're starting to add more calories, even though it's very, very low calorie. Just don't over concentrate it.
Big Popeye John, when taking gear, can you fast for 20 hours long while maintaining muscle mass if you ingest enough protein, 1 gram per 1 pound of body weight, carbs, and fats at your maintenance calories at the end of the day?
If you did 1 day of fasting for 20 hours, you're not going to lose any muscle. But if you're trying to do it every day, I don't think that was the question, because that would be ridiculous. You'd have to eat all your meals in 4 hours. But once in a blue moon, fasting for 20 hours, you probably won't lose any muscle. But if, like I said, if you're doing it on a regular basis, you might.
Sam Maxey, Dave, I hate this show more than Jerry Brainham loves raging about his departure from Steve Blackman. I know you're more towards the belief that overtraining doesn't exist if variables such as sleep, recovery, diet, supplements, etc. are in place, but how many sets is too many sets during one training session? Please differentiate between working sets and total sets. For example, would 40 to 50 total sets for a leg day or 30 to 40 total sets for a back day be way overreaching, therefore inhibiting potential hypertrophy? I think a lot of young guys train this way, thinking more is better. Thanks for all the content you continue to pump out.
Well, I absolutely do believe you can overtrain. I don't buy into the whole, as long as you eat enough and sleep enough that you could recover. I just think everyone's body is different, and certain people can handle loads better than others. I have a crazy fast metabolism. Whenever I overtrained, I didn't grow. When I undertrained, I grew. And the bottom line is that, I know guys that could do 40 sets in the gym and not get as much out of it as I could get from 10 sets in the gym. So it's about intensity. If you're just going through the motions to get through all these sets, there's no way you can give 100% high intensity training to 40 sets. You just can't exert that much mental focus and physical output. So what you're doing is you're sacrificing the intensity of what you're doing and how heavy you can lift to do more volume. And to me, that's counterproductive, and it's a waste of time. And it can cause overtraining, because it's exhausting the neurotransmitters in your body. And remember, the neurotransmitters would allow the nervous system to communicate with the muscles. If that system is out of whack because there's not enough neurotransmitters, because you're exhausting them from all the training you're doing, then invariably your training is going to suffer, and you're going to feel burnt out, and you're not going to want to go to the gym. When I would train less and leave the gym, after just doing my 10 or 12 sets, I couldn't wait to get back the next day. When I would train 15, 20, 25 sets, I didn't even want to go back the next day. So much less 2-3 days later. So I think you got to find what works for your body. Everyone's volume level is different. But to me, you're better off undertraining than overtraining.
Wolf of Essex, Dave, GH can be pretty expensive. I was wondering what the least amount of dosage and duration I can run to make it worthwhile using it and see benefits from it. Also, what kind of benefits should I expect with the duration and dosage you recommend?
Well, it's impossible for me to predict how much muscle someone's going to put on, because there's other variables. Are you using anabolic steroids? How much food are you eating? How's your training? What are your genetics like? So I can't give you a number, but I will say this: 2 IUs per day, taken 7 days a week for at least 12 weeks, and obviously longer better, is going to give you good results. I wouldn't use, for a man, I wouldn't use under 2 IUs. I think, you could do it, but you're not going to get optimal results. I think at 2 IUs, you will see absolutely improvements in your physique. Once again, the longer you use it, the better. And I always said with growth hormone, it's not how much you use, it's duration. So less over a longer period of time is better than a ton over a shorter period of time. That's just the way it works, because you can only grow so fast. So the longer you're on it, on a daily basis, the better chance you are to put muscle on. If you're trying to bang in 20 pounds of muscle growth in 6 weeks by taking 18 IUs a day, it's not going to happen.
Kagan Norton, your thoughts on beef protein?
Yeah, I've seen some of these beef isolates out there, and I was actually almost pretty close to producing one for Alkalized. And then I said to myself, why would people want to use a beef isolate over a whey isolate? It's harder to make beef isolate taste good. I had a very good chocolate peanut butter, but vanilla does not taste good. Okay, and so I said to myself, once again, it's not cheaper for me to produce the stuff. It's about the same price, and whey tastes really good, and people seem to like it. And I don't see the benefit of using it. Once again, I don't see amino acid composition-wise the benefit of using it as well. Now, if it was a lot cheaper, I would be like, yeah, man, let's do it, and that was what I was actually exploring, because when I got these samples of the beef isolate, I said, this tastes pretty good. If I can get this stuff, 20% cheaper than whey isolate, then I could sell it cheaper, and I think I'll sell more of it, but that's not the case. Not to mention that a lot of people don't eat beef. A lot of Muslim people, it's not kosher, so I didn't see a benefit. I thought I would have trouble selling enough of it. I thought it would have a niche market where I'd have my people that loved it, and then I would have a lot of people who would rather use the whey. So once again, I think sometimes in marketplace, don't give people too many choices, because then they get confused and they buy nothing. So that's just my feeling. I don't think it's bad. I think it's a good product. Once again, hard to flavor. Secondly, I don't think it offers any benefit, cost-wise or efficiency.
Let's go to G5000 Primero E Unico. Dave, my question is about painless pumps. I have your protocol and I've been loading for almost 3 weeks. I've seen some added thickness, mostly in the triceps. How often should I load, and how long can I push the loading phase if I want a lot more size?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I created a protocol for the use of synthol, at least the ones that really work. The Chris Clark synthesized and the painless pumps that I sell both of those at DavePalumbo.com. But what I found is that the Chris Clark is a little more potent in the sense that you get it lasts a little longer, and you get a better swelling and muscle building effect from it. So if you're not seeing the results maybe you want from the painless pumps, you might want to try the Chris Clark or mix the two together. There's nothing wrong with that as well. Also, there's no problem with you pushing past the loading phase. I usually do a 3-week loading phase and then a maintenance phase, but you can do 5-week, 6-week loading phase. I got guys pre-contest that stay on the loading phase the whole time because their bodies are cannibalizing the oil faster because they're dieting for a show. So as long as you're not going 5 cc, 7 cc's or doing it every day, you're fine. The loading phase is fine to stay on maintenance-wise if you have no problem doing it. Most people don't need to, though. So it's an individualistic thing. And once again, if you're dieting, you might need to do it because your body is eating up that oil a little faster.
Let's go to Tapia Physique. Dave, just finished my first contest. I've binged for about 6 days straight, but I'm back on the diet and slowly working into my lean bulk. Is it possible to lose any fat that I might have put on during those 6 days while slowly getting into the lean bulk?
I think you probably put on more water than you did fat. So that's usually what happens. Once again, you can keep your carbs a little lower for 2 weeks if you want to see, and if you need to lean yourself out or if you need to lose fluid. The great thing about low carbs is that you'll lose water too on low carbs. One of the best ways that after post-contest, and this is kind of ridiculous when you think about it, but when I would do these contests, especially my early ones, I would eat so much food, junking after the show was over that I would gain like 30, 40 pounds of water. I felt so uncomfortable that I had to go back to my no-carb contest diet just to lose the water, which is ironic. Here I am, I'm off the diet, and I overindulged so much so that I got to go back on the diet, It's crazy, but it works. Low carbs will get rid of that fluid. Obviously, taking a little bit of diazide will get rid of that too, but the combination together is always what I wind up doing. So the moral of the story is don't go crazy after your show. But I doubt you've gained any fat, but yeah, you could certainly stay a little lower carb initially.
Jester Jim wants to know about Sergio Oliva. You thinking Sergio Oliva should have won the New York Pro? Then he wants to know why not John De La Rosa.
I really thought it was a coin flip, to be honest. I thought they were very close. I thought Sergio had a little bit better stage presence and charisma, which really drew your eyes. And there's a component to that. Arnold had it too. You'd see Arnold backstage and you'd be like, and then he'd be on stage and you just couldn't stop looking at him. So Sergio's got that, and he's very good at displaying his physique. His conditioning was better than John's. John was a more complete physique, but I'm a conditioning buff. So when I see conditioning and showmanship, that's what in my mind won it for Sergio. But the truth is that John was winning after prejudging. If he would have won the show and Sergio was second, no one would have complained. It was close. I thought Sergio stole the show, so to speak.
Sharon 35, Dave, I've been having a lot of cramps all over my body, legs and hands. Mostly, I guess, water and bananas are not helping. What can I do?
Well, bananas are very high in potassium. When people cramp, just out of nowhere, it's usually not a potassium cramp. Unless you've been throwing up the night before, okay, because vomiting will cause you to lose potassium. Normally, cramping is due to sodium deficiency or water deficiency. So assuming you're drinking enough, you might be drinking too much and watering your electrolytes down, you need more salt. So I would start salting my foods if I were you. And first of all, no one should really restrict salt unless you have a blood pressure issue that you're taking prescription diuretics for. Even if you're on like ACE inhibitors, don't restrict sodium. I never restrict my sodium because when you restrict sodium, you create more of an imbalance in your body, okay? Not only between potassium and sodium, but also you produce more aldosterone, which is the hormone responsible for reabsorbing sodium. So you actually make yourself more sodium sensitive by not eating sodium. So consume more salt. I promise you the cramping will probably go away. Now, if the cramping is due to like a Clenbuterol usage, that could be just because the muscles are contracting too hard. In that case, you can use, and I've said this before, diet tonic water, which has methylquinine in there, which inhibits cramping. But if your cramping is electrolyte depletion, then add salt. It's not a potassium thing. Matter of fact, adding potassium might make the cramping worse.
Quest for Shreds on our Instagram channel. Thoughts on creatine and BCAA on a low-caloric diet to preserve muscle mass?
Well, you're not going to preserve muscle just because you're taking creatine or branched-chain amino acids. You're going to preserve muscle, assuming you're not overtraining, you're sleeping enough, and you're taking in enough protein and essential fats. So the problem with branched-chain amino acids are they're just 3 amino acids, okay? They're just leucine, isoleucine, and valine. That's not going to preserve muscle, okay? That might give your body a fuel source to turn those amino acids into glucose, but they're certainly not going to preserve muscle the way eating your 5 or 6 meals spaced out throughout the day with enough protein is going to do. Because that's complete protein. That's going to preserve muscle, okay? Assuming also you're not doing too high intensity cardio, where you're burning up muscle tissue. But people are under the false presumption that creatine or that glutamine or that branched chain amino acids are going to preserve muscle. They just can't do that. More than likely, people who guzzle down branched chains all day long are probably converting a lot of that into glucose, and it's probably not doing anything. If you've seen any of the seminars I've done online, and I talked about this in my Secrets to Becoming a Diet Guru class this past weekend, branched chain amino acids basically just turn on the protein machinery switch. Once it's turned on, you have to feed complete source of protein into the body so the body can use those as the raw materials to repair muscle. So just flipping the switch on is not good enough. You can flip the switch on all day you want. If you don't give your body the raw materials it needs, it doesn't matter. And the irony is that incomplete sources of protein, whey, chicken, fish, meat, they all contain the branched chains that can flip the switch on their own. They don't need the extra branched chain amino acids. To me, branched chains are a luxury item. They're not a necessity.
Joey Mascaro on our Facebook page, in your opinion, what defines an athlete as quote-unquote all natural these days?
I don't think anyone's natural. If you take a freaking vitamin, you're not natural as far as I'm concerned because that doesn't occur in nature. The only natural athlete is the person who just eats plain food, all day long and trains at the gym. If you take a supplement, you're not natural. But, I guess if you want to define as far as steroid user versus non-steroid user, to me, natural would be only taking stuff you can buy legally in a store, which is a ridiculous, presumption, but that's the way, most of these natural organizations look at it. So you can't be using growth hormone and peptides and Clenbuterol and Cytomel and anabolic steroids and IGF-1. These are not acceptable as far as the definition of a natural athlete goes. But yet, a lot of these natural athletes will use things that they can buy online because they're like, well, this is technically, it's sold in a health food store, so it's technically good. Well, they were selling pro-hormones that weren't even pro-hormones, that were basically hormones that were stronger than some of the anabolic steroids out there. So if you use that, you're not natural. So everyone has their own definition. To me, the whole term is ridiculous.
You're watching Ask Dave. Reminder, tomorrow, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, live with our super secret guest on RxMuscle and the RxMuscle YouTube channel. Let's go to Jason Lipner and, of course, Kevin Levrone withdrawing his name from the Vancouver Pro Show. So Jason Lipner wants to know which show you think Kevin Levrone is going to end up doing this year Is his goal still to qualify for the Olympia this year?
You know, I texted him and he told me he wasn't doing Tampa, and he said he's not going to commit to what show he's doing. He definitely will compete this year, but he's not going to commit. This is what I think Kevin's going to do, to be honest with you. And he didn't tell me this. This is completely my own theory. I don't think he's going to do any shows before the Olympia. I think he's going to let the Olympia go, and I think he's going to try to do a show at the end of the year, maybe like the Ferrigno Legacy Classic or something like that. At the very end of the year, he figures everyone's kind of burnt out a little bit. He'll be fresh. And I think that he figures it's a big name show, obviously, Lou Ferrigno. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Kevin Levrone at that show. That's my prediction. And once again, he did not say anything to me. I have no clue if that's really what his plan is or not. But that's my thought.
Adrian Rickson or Reichson, Dave, can you please explain Clenbuterol when to take after food?
You could take Clenbuterol without food. I used to take it first thing in the morning on an empty stomach, and then I would take it usually before I did cardio. But I would just spread them out throughout the day, and it really didn't matter to me if I was eating or not. And I don't think it does matter. I mean, obviously, if you have a meal in your stomach, it'll take longer to absorb it. It's faster absorbed on an empty stomach, but either way is fine.
Shahid Mustafa, we're getting a lot of questions about Ramadan. Of course, it is Ramadan, so for those that are fasting like myself, Ramadan Mubarak to you all. The question is, and we're getting similar questions, but I'll just ask it in this form. Any advice for keeping metabolism up during Ramadan fasting?
Yeah, I don't think your metabolism is suppressed. I think your body is just a little out of whack because you're doing all your eating at night after dark. And I have a lot of bodybuilders I'm working with who are on Ramadan. And I have, as soon as that sun goes down, boom, you got to have a meal. Usually then follow that with a shake, then another meal. If we can sneak one more shake in before bed, we do that. If not, I have them wake up really early before the sun comes up and have another shake, and then a meal before, maybe they can go or a meal and then maybe a shake right before the sun comes up. It's hard, it's hard. You're probably not going to get 6 meals, and you're probably going to get 5 feedings in more than likely, unless you're waking up in the middle of the night to drink shakes. But it's tough, and I know, and I respect all the people that follow Ramadan, because it's not like the Jews do one day they don't eat for, and that's a big deal to them, But a whole month is really tough, and once again, you just have to be organized. If you organize your schedule, you'll do it fine, and it won't be a big deal. If you don't organize and you just wing it, you're going to miss meals and you're going to lose muscle. I'm telling you. If you're really into bodybuilding, then you'll sit down and you'll write your schedule out and you will make it happen. And I'm telling you, it won't be a big deal. I've gone on crazy trips with flights where we're sleeping overnight, and I've got all my meals in, so there's no excuse.
Big Papa Gaines, I competed 2 weeks ago on the recommendation of a coach. I cut all salt during the day before the show and on show day. On stage, I looked flat and didn't have the pump or condition I had in the days previous. Was this due to the lack of salt?
It could be due to the lack of salt. It could have been due to the lack of carbs. It could have been due to the lack of fat in your diet. I usually cut salt the day before, but then I put it back in that night, usually for like a little burger and fries meal, unless the person's not where I want them to be. Then I'll wait till the next morning, but then all Saturday I let the person eat salt. Because once again, you pull the salt, because you're getting rid of water with that. You're on a diuretic, so you're getting rid of water. The next day, you've got to put the sodium back in so that you don't start cramping and you keep the muscles a little fuller. You can't hold water when you're not drinking on Saturday, assuming that's the day of the show. So there's no risk at taking in sodium when you're not drinking. The risk is when you're taking in sodium when you are drinking. So that's why we cut it out Friday. When we're done drinking, I usually put the sodium back in, after they've been off liquids for an hour or two. And it seems to work really well. I think that a lot of people do flatten out from taking out the salt for too long.
BX Reyes 85, Dave, any tricks or supplements to reduce appetite while dieting? I drink a lot of water between meals. It works for about 20 minutes, and I feel like I'm starving to death.
I have 2 fat burners, a daytime one and a nighttime one. And the nighttime one obviously has the sleep aid in it as well. Lipolized and Somalized, and they both have an appetite reduction system in there. You might want to give that a shot. A lot of people feel that it works really, really well. Olive oil metabolites, believe it or not, do inhibit, not olive oil itself, the metabolites, OEA and oleic acid, will inhibit appetite a little bit. So give those a try. I think that might help you quite a bit. Obviously, drinking coffee is one of the tricks I used to do when I was hungry, but that was kind of more quelling my desire to put something in my mouth. But obviously, I used to drink coffee right before I went to bed because I was so immune to the caffeine, but it helped. But these two products will do the trick, I'm telling you. They'll take the edge off it. They're not going to make your hunger go away, but they're going to take the edge off. It's the edge that really makes you want to go ballistic and eat everything in sight.
Boy from Paris 1337, Dave, I would love to get your opinion on this. For long esters like Test E and Test C, do you believe that at what week someone starts seeing results depends on the person? Some guys feel stronger after a week, and some guys don't feel anything until week 5 or so. Do you think it takes a while to feel for guys with a higher natural test?
I think what happens after the first week of taking any kind of long-acting testosterone ester, I think your body is shutting itself down, and the long-acting ester hasn't kicked in yet. And that's a problem because a lot of times people get weaker the first week or 10 days. But then usually by week 3, you start to feel strength gains. And usually by week 4 or 5, you're starting to see pretty good muscle gains. Remember, these cypionate and anthate esters are long acting, so they take a while to get into the system. Once they're in there, though, they keep very sustained high levels for a long period of time. So be patient. You know, a lot of guys, like on my mass building program, I'll put them on a little Dianabol, oral Dianabol, just to get things started so they feel that a little quicker. But it's not necessary.
Let's go to T_Ben35. Dave, I've done my research on tilapia fish. I don't understand why so many people always say it's horrible and not to eat it. I'm eating 7 ounces for 1 to 2 of my meals every day while on keto. Your opinion on tilapia?
Tilapia, from a standpoint of macronutrients, protein and fat and carbs, is phenomenal. You know, the problem is all the tilapia is farm raised, and they keep them in pretty shitty conditions. You know, they're like fish tanks basically that never get cleaned, and they don't really feed them the best food. So I mean, I guess tilapia is no worse than eating shrimp and lobster. I mean, shrimp and lobster eat the crap off the bottom of the ocean, and then we eat those. So I don't think it's the end of the world, you know. But if you're eating 6 to 8 pounds of tilapia a day, like Kai Green was, you might be putting some toxicity into your body. If you're having it a couple times a day, I wouldn't worry about it.
Mr_Fitness, expose the scam on coach meal planning. People copy and paste weekly results, diet plans. Not every food works. So basically, he wants you to talk about diet coaches that just copy and paste from other plans that they see and make a business out of it.
Well, I mean, copying is the greatest form of, I guess, flattery, you can say. I mean, when I give my secrets to becoming a diet guru coach, I give out all my protocols, and I'm sure a lot of people go back, and most people, and use them. And that's fine if you understand the science behind what you're doing and why you're prescribing this stuff. The problem is when people just hire someone like me for a diet, I give them their diet, and then they take that same diet and give it to someone else, but they don't really understand how the diet works or all the variables and how to tweak it and how to change it, but they're just trying to emulate or copy what I was doing. They may get good results with 50% of the people, maybe 75%, but there's always that 25% that don't adhere to the rules, and then they don't know how to change it around, and then they look foolish. So what I tell people is I don't think there's anything wrong with using other people's protocols. Everyone steals from everyone, essentially, but understand the science. And if that means studying online somewhere, fine. But if it means coming to take my secrets to becoming a diet guru course to understand it, if you want to be a great coach, you must educate yourself. And unfortunately, there's no Harvard or Stanford University out there for becoming a diet coach. I'm the only thing that's out there right now. If something else pops up, great. But I'm the only one teaching people the science of what's going on. And that's not to say that I'm better than anyone. I'm just the only one who came up with the idea. And maybe I'm the only one or one of the few people qualified. I'd love to, hold more of these. It's very labor intensive and time consuming, but the people who take the course, if you ask them and talk to them, they'll tell you it was the best thing they ever did. 10 hours one day, they're learning, a lifetime of information in there. And a lot of these guys know a lot of this stuff, but it's confirming it and solidifying the knowledge in their heads. So once again, I have no problem with people using other people's diets, although I've seen some people show me diets that weren't even changed. They were just the exact copy and pastes of mine. And that's fine. If it works and the person gets results, so be it. Fantastic.
D. Mortzel, what are the health benefits of flaxseed oil, and do you recommend it?
I know Bill Phillips was a big advocate of flaxseed oil because he knew that omega-3 fats were important, for muscle repair and the production of certain hormones in the body. The problem was that what they didn't know back in the 90s was that flaxseed, which possesses the omega-3 parent compound, alpha-linoleic acid, doesn't convert to usable form in humans very efficiently, only 10% efficiency. So the DHA and EPA, which are actually the active metabolites, the intermediates we call them, of omega-3 metabolism, don't get produced from the parent compound in humans. Now, cows can eat grass and produce those intermediates. Fish can eat algae and produce those intermediates, but humans can't. So we really need to consume animal sources of omega-3 fats to get the DHA, EPA directly. Fish oil is great, not farm-raised fish, of course, but fish that are wild caught. Fish oil supplements are really good, obviously. Way better than flaxseed in that they contain the intermediates. Ironically enough, flaxseed contains more omega-3 parent compound than do the animal sources, but they don't contain the intermediates. So if I had to pick an omega-3 fat to use, to get my omega-3 intermediates, you'd have to go with like a fish oil or a krill oil or something that's comparable. Even eating grass-fed beef has a lot of usable omega-3 fats, but you can't take the flaxseed or vegetarian version of it.
We're going to take one more question only because Johnny Styles is doing jumping jacks right now, and he will strangle me if I take anything more than one question. A reminder, tomorrow, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we are going to have live with our super secret special mystery guest. We've had all sorts of guests from Phil Heath to Flex Wheeler to Michael Jackson. I can assure you it's not one of those three. One more question, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, live with. Dave, I'm going to ask this question because you posted a video a couple of weeks ago, and it sparked a bit of a heated debate, so I wanted you to kind of have another shot at it here. Goldbeck01, is alkalized water a hoax? It meets the stomach acid with a pH of 1. Please explain.
Okay. The stomach acids, the stomach's pH is not 1 all the time. Okay? It's 1 when you eat protein, and protein goes into the stomach, and the stomach cranks out hydrochloric acid, and then it cranks out the digestive proteases in there that then work in that acidic environment. If you have an empty stomach, however, there's nothing going on there. Drinking alkalized water, will get into your tissues of your body and help neutralize acidity. All you have to do is try drinking alkalized water, and then you will know. You don't have to believe me for it. Drink it. Drink it and see how you feel. See how much energy you feel. See how much better you feel. See how good your skin looks. The body is always becoming acidified by breaking down protein, waste, by producing lactic acid in the gym. Stress raises acidity level. Alkalinized water just helps your body neutralize that. We don't want the body leaching calcium out of the bones to have to neutralize acidity in the body. So drinking 3-5 glasses of water in between meals is you're gonna see a big difference. I'm telling you. One of the products that I just started selling on my website that we almost sold out of already, I just ordered more, are these alkalinized water filters. They're actually like Brita filters. They're not the $1,500 filters you hook up to your sink. They're not the shaker bottles I used to use. This is an actual pitcher where you can make a good amount of water just by pouring your tap water into there. It'll filter the water, it'll alkalinize it, and as long as the water is touching that filter in there, it stays alkalinized. For $45, you can't go wrong. You can drink free alkalinized water basically all day long. You don't have to go buy Fiji water or anything from Whole Foods. It's super simple, and like I said, just drink 3 to 5 glasses a day and tell me how you feel. Don't believe me. Just do it and try it. I promise you'll feel better. But once again, drinking alkalinized water with meals is irrelevant. Like you said, once that stomach acid cranks up, you're going to probably neutralize the acidity, the alkalinity in the water. But on an empty stomach, fantastic.
Is going to do it for this episode of Ask Dave, brought to you by Species Nutrition. Once again, tomorrow 2 p.m. live with, you're going to see who our super secret mystery guest live with, 2 p.m. only on RxMuscle.com. For Dave Palumbo and Johnny Styles, I'm Sadiq Faruqi. We'll see you next time.